All right, continuing on with another video here, and we've been dealing with errors in your code and debugging your code, trying to find out if there's any issues with it or whatnot. Run it multiple times, make sure it comes up with the same thing you're expecting it to come up with. If it doesn't, then many different ways of finding out how to get it to do what you're expecting it to do. Something else, a bit of advice that I got from another source. When you're writing code and for anybody at all, how do you start? How do you start to write code if you have a program or whatnot? Well, an easy way to do that, I'm going to open up uh, Notepad here. I'm not really going to write any code in here, but so let me zoom in on this so you can see it better. Tools. Nope. Back. See if I figure out how. Trying to zoom in on it a little bit. There we go. This is some old code right here. I'm going to go ahead and clear all this out. Okay. So, you're working on learning how to debug and correct errors in your code, but you're not even sure what kind of program you want to build. You might start off with, here, let me switch this over. So I got uh, not VS Code or W3 Schools up right now. This is actually Notepad, the built-in text editor for Windows that I have. Something that came with the system, or the software. Where do you start? Well, the best advice I got when starting is, what do you want the program to do? So just start jotting down some notes here. Let's see, how well can you see it? You can't see it very well. So let me zoom in on that a little farther. Okay, that's about as far as I can zoom in. Okay, and it can be seen. Okay, so what do you want the program to do? Is it meant for a game? So uh, entertainment. Um, is it to help somebody out? So be more of an assistant. Um, maybe I don't know. You can put whatever you want in here. I'm trying to think of some other things, but pretty much, what do you want the program to do? The next part, trying to think of some ideas and stuff on what is it a game? Um, Basically, build yourself a guide. Now, I typically have my best ideas when I get up and I walk around and I'm sitting there thinking about things. Right now, I'm not really thinking very strongly because this is not my thinking spot. Uh, Something else you might consider is do some research on the program you want to build. So, research maybe other programs like it. Um, let's see, what else is there? What do you want in the program? So I'm just basically using this text out of notepad right here to basically jot down some thoughts that are running into my head. So, and you can save this way, and that way when you get to your thinking spot or whatever, or your creative idea spot, I mean, you may even have some paper and stuff to write it down. Um, but basically, it's brainstorming. At this point in time, you're brainstorming what you want your program to do. There's all kinds of different things it can happen. You come across an idea, even carry a small pad of paper and stuff, and you're out doing things, and you see something going on. It gives you an idea. Jot it down. Add it to your built-in text editor like this. This way, you have it saved somewhere. But a starting point. This is pretty much what this is. And then from there, you can go into this right here and start writing the code for it. Anybody that does anything creative, whether it's artwork, programming, music, uh, making a movie, making a game, anybody that does anything creative and stuff, when they're sitting there and they're trying to come up with an idea on what to paint or um, how to get started and stuff, some people can do it just off of raw instinct. Sometimes I can when it comes to music. Other times and stuff, you might get stuck. Um, for writers and stuff, that may be known as writer's block. For but yeah, so there is a section in one of my other sources and stuff that gives you a lot of ideas on how to get started with a program if you're not sure what to make out of a program. And I just kind of wanted to mention that before we get too much farther into this right here because that is something that I know any programmer, um, any creator, music, art, movies, etc., they have these same issues. They have these same methods that they use to get the creative juices flowing. So, um, yeah, keep yourself a pen and a small pad of paper with you and stuff. If you see something that gives you an idea, or you just pop an idea in your head and stuff, you can jot it down, whatnot. Maybe when you get home and stuff, you get time, you can get your pad of paper out and stuff and put it into the text editor. That way you have it for future reference when you're ready to start writing code. I'm pretty sure that most anybody that's creative and stuff does that. If they don't, then they just have their own methods of doing it. But yeah. Anyways, moving on to our next section in errors, which is exceptions. Now, I don't recall seeing or learning about this before. If I have, I don't remember it, or maybe I just haven't done it yet. But let's see what happens here. So exceptions. Uh, as mentioned in the C++ errors chapter, different types of errors can occur while running a program, such as code mistakes, invalid input, or unexpected situations. When an error occurs in C++, we'll normally stop and generate an error message. The technical term for this is C++ will throw an exception, throw an error. Okay, so I do kind of remember this. This is where you actually build code into your program, and I'm sure you've seen this many times before, um, where when something happens, the user or yourself might see an error message. Uh, you see this is very common on cars um, and computers. Your computer crashes and it gives you an error message or a blue screen or whatever it gives you. Your car and stuff, when one of the sensors or something's not right with it, a lot of times the engine light will come on or some sort of message will display. Get your oil changed, get your tires rotated. Those are part of it. Um, so we got an example right here. So we're going to clear up our code right here and get this example jotted down in here. I don't think there's in the library that's actually needed for this. Oh, I forgot to mention the keywords for this before I start. So there's 3 keywords for this: try, throw, and catch. Try defines the code to test. Throw triggers an exception, and catch handles the error. So first part is try. Um, curly brackets, and we got a comment here. code that may throw an exception, and then throw, which is a keyword, 505. So that's the code you want to display when a certain issue occurs. And then down here after that, for that specific thing, catch int error code, some more curly brackets here for the output. So standard output with a message, error occurred. Oops, I wasn't supposed to do that. There we go. There we go. And what the error is. Code. All right. So right here we have, you might have a list of different numbers, values, or whatnot. We have a try. It doesn't really specify what this is, but define the code to test. So you have some code in here. You might have a bunch of code in here. I don't know. But if this code actually runs, maybe if it's an if statement or a for loop or something like that, and it catches this one spot right here in that code, well, then it's going to throw a 505 code. And in that case, I believe that gets caught right here. This is an integer because of this being a value right here, a number. So that's going to be placed into the error code spot. And then this is going to run, which is going to cause it to print up the 505, which you will have. Why didn't it come out right? Because I got a lowercase c. This will print up the error code, which would be displayed on the screen. For example, you get the blue screen thing, you get an error of such and such. Normally, it's not as simple as a 505. Normally, it's a list of things. Something more specific that actually tells you, hey, lost network connection, lost connection with the server, unable to process the information, whatever it may be. So we're going to save this, we're going to run this, and yes, we'll get a result of error code 505 in a terminal because it went through whatever line of code was inside the try and it failed to get out of it because the code failed in a sense. I kind of wish I had a better example for this, but maybe it looks like we'll have a better example. So here the program throws an exception with the value of 505, which is caught and handled with the catch block. Real life example, age check. We can use exception handling to check if a user is old enough for something. So we're going to rewrite our code here. We still have the try loop right here. We're going to get rid of this comment. And in place of it, we're going to put int int age 15 if, and this is where that whole if statement comes in play, age is greater than or equal to 18. And their output access granted. You are old enough going to get rid of this right here because we don't need this in here for right now because we are currently I made a mistake here. This here first, enter, and enter, and then the end of it. Okay, so I forgot my curly brackets in that. Space else, enter throw age. All right, and then down here for the catch, we're going to have, instead of error code, we're going to have my num. And for the output, we're going to change this right here to access denied. You must be at least 18 years old with the new line. Let me get rid of that, add that, and then another line down here, standard output age is my num. Okay. So in this code here, we have the whole try thing for catching errors, just like I was explaining before. We have an integer, variable name of age to describe what the integer is going to be, which is 15. That's the current user's age right there is 15. And yes, you probably write some code and stuff to get an age, and then just whatever they put in for the age and stuff can be placed in for age right here. We may not get into that into this video because that'll take a little bit more time. I may go through some examples and stuff later on when I get through a lot of these sources and stuff, playing around trying to make code that works for different purposes. Anyways, so we create a for loop or an if statement here. Age, so whatever the value of age currently is, whatever they put in for the age, if it's greater than or equal to 18, then it's going to print off the next line of code. We're going to run the next line of code, which is printing something off in the terminal. If it's not, then it's going to skip that and go to else, and it's going to throw an error code, throw age. Then you got the catch part right here, which is going to catch that age right there and input it into, first it's going to print off access denied, you're not old enough, pretty much. And then it's going to, this right here, age is going to get put into here, my number. You can match that up if you want to my age instead of my number. Then it's going to print off what the age is, saying that basically it's the person trying to access whatever, do whatever is not old enough. Let's go ahead and save it, run it. And we're going to get the access denied. You're not old enough, pretty much. You're only 15 years old. You change the age, 22. Save it, run it. You get the other one, access granted, you're old enough. Now, if you wanted the user to put the code in there themselves, then you might add in standard output, how old are, and no. What is your current age? In line. And then we're going to change this to where it's just a declared variable. And then standard input age. And we're going to separate that. Clear the terminal out right there. Oops. Yep, that's facing the wrong way. Okay. Now we save it. So now in this program right here, simple enough. We're just currently asking what their current age is. They're going to put in an age. When they put in an age, it's going to go in right here and stuff, and it's going to tell us whether they're old enough or not. So let's go ahead and run this real quick, and it's asking for age. So down here, we're going to put 10, and we're going to get access denied, you are not old enough. So quickly, I just wrote a program right there that asks for a user's age. Okay, let's run it again. What is your current age? And let's put in 35. Access granted, you're old enough. So there's a quick example of the exception thing, how to generate errors and no error message for when something happens. We could have it as a different way because this is age right here. I mean, you can have all kinds of things. If for cars and stuff, when you first start up a car, it goes through a self-check. When it goes through that self-check, as long as everything passed, the light does not come on. Meaning, it went through and checked everything, and it's got the if statement right here. If everything passed, then skip to the next line to where you can end up having it so that this right here actually ends up, we'll put it right there, and this right here ends up uh, down here. Let me move this a little bit farther. Okay, so we just switched those around. Does everything check out? Yes, no? Okay, we kind of flipped it around backwards. I'll go ahead and save it like that. Now, what is your current age? 10. Access granted, you're old enough. Well, apparently you're old enough and stuff, but what if you're over the age of 18? So, ask the age again, 25. Access denied. You must be at least 18 years old. So we just flipped it around. So yes, it's possible to have it to where if it's true, if everything passes and stuff, it throws a code. It doesn't throw a code. It's yeah. So you see how that works. You can change what comes up here in the text. I mean, so that's the real life example right there. Example explained. We use a try block to test some code. If the age is variable is less than 18, we will throw an exception and handle it in our catch hook block. In the catch block, we catch the error and do something about it. The catch statement takes parameters. In our example, we use the integer variable in my number. You can use strings. You can use anything right there. Booleans are really good for that too. Because we are throwing an exception of integer type in the try. So if this is an integer right here, make sure that this is an integer. If it's a Boolean right here, true or false, be sure this is a Boolean so it catches 1 or 0 or whatever the amount is. So forth, so on. If no errors occur, if age is 20 instead of 15, meaning it will be greater than 18, the catch block is skipped. Sorry. So this part here, right here, skipped. So the catch block is kind of the same thing as an if statement, in a sense. If there is nothing wrong with this right here, it's going to skip this. So if this is all true, it's going to skip this. Where an if statement, if it's false, it doesn't. It skips the first line. So, and we can kind of clean this up a little bit to where it looks a little better, more organized, I would say. Just like the if and else statement. Okay, so now our try block looks pretty much exactly the same as our if statement does. If statement, printed curly brackets with the else. Well, in this case, we have the catch right there. So if you know how to do if statements, uh, exceptions are pretty well built the same way. Okay, so they changed the variable for the age and stuff to 20 to do the same thing, except for this time it prints out access granted in the following example. We've already done that. In fact, we've even added some code right here to ask a person what their age is, store it in a variable, and then run it in our if statement to determine whether or not we need to throw code. We've even switched it around and stuff towards the opposite way around. So moving on, handling any type of exceptions. If you do not know the throw type using the try block, you can use the 3 dots syntax inside the catch block, which will handle any type of exception. Okay, so let me see here. Trying to determine if we need to. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this back here real quick. Move this to there. Move this line back up to here. Because we have pretty much the same exercise here at the end. The only difference is we are changing this to 3 dots if we don't know. Say you have multiple types in here. One's an integer, one's a boolean, one's a whatever and stuff, and you have multiple if statements going on in here. Yeah, and there can be a lot. So you have a list of different things to catch any kind of errors. Well, these 3 dots apparently are intended for catching whatever type it is. So in this case, we save it right here. We run the code again. It's going to ask a question. Oops. We're going to have to use something else. Okay, I see what's going on here. So they got rid of this because they don't have the variable there anymore, which is fine. Control save. So they don't have the variable because you're not printing it out anymore. So if you have something there, you know exactly what it's going to be. If it's going to be an integer, you can add it down here and kind of explain what it is. Otherwise, it's not really, it's just telling whether it's access granted or access denied. It's not giving you a reason in this case. So there's not going to be an error message saying whatever. In fact, they changed this from age to 500 or 505. So I don't think it's going to print. I don't know if there's a way to print this up or not. That's the terminal. It's going to catch it right here, but it's not going to print it up because it's not going to know what it is. You might be able to use auto in this case. This might be a good case to use auto if it's a string. If you have maybe 3 different throws in there, one's a string, one's an integer, one's a boolean, you could probably use auto and give it different statements for that. If it's this, do this. If it's that, do that, sort of thing. Let's go ahead and save it and run this and see what happens here. Currently, we're asking for age again, so we're going to put 10 in there, and it just says access denied. It doesn't tell us why. If we run it again, what is your age again? 55. Access granted. So in this case and stuff, when we don't know what this is going to be, but like I said, you could probably use auto down here uh, and figure out something to use in there and stuff to get whatever the code is. But yes, that is part of handling the any type of exception if you need to use the 3 dots. So I'm sure there's a lot more you can do with that. Like I said, this is pretty much all it has for that, for the exception. The next part is input validation, which I think we've probably already covered most of that right here with this, where you input something and it tells something or another. But either way and stuff, we'll do this part in the next video. Again, if you like the video, click the like button. If you have any corrections or any comments or anything you want to add, throw them in the comments there. But for now, I think that'll be the end of this video, and we'll catch up. We'll finish this section up of errors and stuff in the next video. So I'll catch you later.